I pulled into our driveway in Sacramento after 2 glorious weeks on an Alaskan cruise, 40 years of marriage, and Robert had finally agreed to take a real vacation. The northern lights, the glaciers, the salmon dinners. It had been perfect. I was still humming as I dragged my suitcase up the front steps of our little craftsman home in Land Park, the same house we'd bought 37 years ago when Diana was just a baby. Robert was sitting at the kitchen table when I walked in. That should have been my first clue. It was 2:30 inches the afternoon on a Tuesday, and Robert is a man of routine. Tuesday afternoons meant grocery shopping at Rayleigh's, not sitting at the kitchen table with a stack of papers in front of him and his reading glasses crooked on his nose. "Honey, I'm home. I dropped my purse on the counter. Did you miss me?" He looked up, and his face was wrong. Not quite guilty, not quite confused. Something in between. "Patricia, you're back early." "Early?" I laughed. "We docked in Seattle this morning, just like we planned. The flight was on time for once. Are you feeling okay?" He glanced down at the papers, then back at me. "Diana was here." "That's nice." I started unpacking groceries I'd picked up on the way home from the airport. "How's she doing?" She helped me with some paperwork. His voice was strange, flat, estate planning stuff. She said it would protect us. My hands stilled on a box of crackers. Estate planning? "Robert, we did all that 5 years ago with Jim Harrison. You remember the attorney Diana recommended back then?" "This is different," Diana said. "With the new tax laws, we needed to update everything." She brought over some documents. "I signed them while you were gone." She said it was time sensitive. Something cold settled in my chest. "What documents?" He pushed the stack across the table. His hands were shaking slightly. "Transfer of deed documents." Diana said it's called a life estate transfer. We still get to live here, but the house goes to her when we, it saves on estate taxes. She said it was standard. I picked up the top document. My hands weren't shaking. Not yet. That came later. It was a grant deed. Our house, the house we'd paid off 15 years ago, had been transferred entirely to Diana Morrison. Not a life estate, not a trust, a complete transfer. According to the recording stamp, it had been filed with Sacramento County 3 days ago. "Robert," I kept my voice steady. "Did Diana explain what you were signing?" "She said it was to protect us. So if one of us needs nursing home care, Medi-Cal can't take the house." She said she learned about it in her estate planning practice. Diana's an estate planning attorney. That's what she'd told us 3 years ago when she'd quit her job at the insurance company. She'd gone back to school, passed the bar, joined a firm in downtown Sacramento specializing in elder law. We'd been so proud. Our daughter, the attorney. She'd even helped several of our friends with their wills and trusts, charging them almost nothing because family takes care of family. Except as I stood there reading that grant deed, something wasn't adding up. "Robert, where's the life estate language?" "This just says the property is transferred to Diana Morrison, fee simple. That means she owns it outright." He blinked. "But she said." I pulled out my phone and called Diana. It went straight to voicemail. I tried texting. No response. I called her office number, the one on her business card. "The number you have reached is no longer in service." "Robert, I need you to think carefully. What else did Diana have you sign?" His face went pale. There were other papers. Bank stuff. She said she was setting up a trust for us. Something about Medicaid spend-down planning. My heart was hammering now. "Show me." He pulled out more documents from a drawer. Powers of attorney, both financial and medical. A deed of trust on the house. He'd signed the application for a $350,000 home equity line of credit, and bank authorization forms allowing Diana access to our accounts as trustee. I sat down heavily. "When did you sign all this?" 5 days ago. "Diana said you'd agreed to it before you left. She said you two had discussed it, but you wanted me to handle the paperwork while you were relaxing on the cruise. She said not to bother you with it. But we never discussed any of this." Robert's hands were shaking badly now. "She said it was a surprise. For our anniversary. She was helping us protect everything we'd worked for. I looked at my husband of 40 years. Robert Morrison had been an electrician for 42 years before retiring. He'd wired half the houses in East Sacramento. He'd taught electrical courses at Sacramento City College. He wasn't stupid, but he was 64, and he trusted our daughter completely. Why wouldn't he? I grabbed my laptop and searched for Diana's law firm, Morrison and Webb Estate Planning. The website looked professional. Photos of Diana in a sharp suit, standing in front of law books, testimonials from satisfied clients, an address in a building on J Street downtown. I got in my car and drove there. The address was a UPS store, a mailbox rental. That's when I knew. That's when I understood that something was very, very wrong. I went home and called Jim Harrison, our actual attorney, the one who'd done our real estate planning 5 years ago. Jim, I need you to look at something. Today, right now. He met me at his office within an hour. When he read through the documents Robert had signed, his face went grim. Patricia, these documents just transferred complete ownership of your house to your daughter. And this HELOC. He pulled up Sacramento County records on his computer. It was approved for $350,000 and fully drawn. The money was disbursed 4 days ago to an account I'm betting isn't yours. I felt the room spin. $350,000? He kept scrolling. And according to this, Diana also accessed your bank accounts. She transferred $125,000 from your retirement savings to something called Morrison Family Trust Management, LLC. Do you know anything about that? I don't even know what that is. It's a company registered to Diana Morrison and someone named Marcus Webb, registered in Nevada 6 months ago. Marcus, Diana's boyfriend. She'd introduced us a year ago. Nice guy, she'd said. A paralegal at her firm. They were talking about getting married. Jim, I said slowly, is Diana even an attorney? He turned to his computer and pulled up the California State Bar website. He typed in Diana Morrison. His face told me everything. She's not licensed in California. According to this, she was accepted to McGeorge School of Law here in Sacramento 7 years ago, but she withdrew after her 2nd year. She never graduated, never took the bar exam. Patricia, your daughter isn't a lawyer. The room was silent except for the hum of Jim's computer. So she's been pretending for 3 years? He nodded grimly. And if she's been holding herself out as an attorney, taking clients, giving legal advice, that's practicing law without a license. That's a felony. And the financial exploitation of elderly clients, that's elder abuse. Federal charges if she crossed state lines or used wire transfers. He looked at me. Patricia, you need to call the police. Right now. I sat there for a long moment. My daughter. My only child. The little girl who'd cried when she'd scraped her knee at 6. Who'd been homecoming princess her senior year. Who'd called me every Sunday for the past 3 years to check in, to see how we were doing, to offer legal advice I'd thought came from expertise and education. She'd been robbing us, systematically, carefully, for 3 years. Jim called Sacramento PD from his office. They referred us to the DA's Elder Abuse Unit. A detective named Sarah Chen arrived at Jim's office within 2 hours. Detective Chen was thorough. She took statements from both Robert and me. She photographed all the documents. She called the Sacramento County Recorder's office and confirmed the property transfer. She called our bank and froze our accounts. Mrs. Morrison, she said gently, I need you to understand something. This appears to be much bigger than just you and your husband. If your daughter has been impersonating an attorney for 3 years, she's likely done this to other people. We're going to need to investigate her entire operation. How many other people? I asked. She looked at her notes. Based on the business name you gave me and some preliminary searches, there are at least 45 complaints filed with the State Bar against Morrison and Webb Estate Planning over the past 2 years. Complaints about missing money, fraudulent documents, unauthorized property transfers. The State Bar has been investigating, but they thought Morrison and Webb were just incompetent attorneys. No one realized they weren't licensed at all. 45 people. 45 families. How much money are we talking about? Chen hesitated. Conservatively? Based on the complaints we know about? At least $2.3 million. Possibly more. I thought I might be sick. The investigation moved fast once it started. Detective Chen got a warrant for Diana's apartment in Midtown. Diana wasn't there, but Marcus was. He tried to run when he saw the police. They caught him 3 blocks away. Marcus Webb wasn't a paralegal. He'd worked as a legal assistant at a personal injury firm for 6 months 5 years ago, before being fired for falsifying client records. He'd met Diana at a bar, and she'd told him about her plan. Together, they'd created Morrison and Webb Estate Planning. They'd rented the UPS box, built the website, created fake bar licenses, fake law degrees, fake everything. They'd targeted elderly clients specifically, people in their 60s, 70s, 80s, people who were starting to think about estate planning, people who trusted a nice young woman attorney who seemed so knowledgeable and caring. The scheme was elegant in its simplicity. Diana and Marcus would offer free estate planning consultations. They'd gain the client's trust, often meeting them multiple times. Then they'd convince the clients to sign documents, usually powers of attorney and property transfers. They'd tell the clients it was for tax purposes, or Medicaid planning, or probate avoidance. Then they'd steal everything. Transfer the property, drain bank accounts, take out home equity loans, and disappear the money into accounts in Nevada and Delaware that they controlled. Most of the victims didn't even realize they'd been robbed until months later. Many of them were too embarrassed to report it. Some, like Robert, had been convinced by their children that what Diana had done was legitimate. Detective Chen told me they'd found records in Marcus's apartment. A laptop with spreadsheets tracking victims, amounts stolen, properties transferred, email conversations between Diana and Marcus, planning their scams, laughing about how easy it was to fool old people. There was one email that broke me. Marcus had written, "The Morrison parents are perfect targets. The dad will sign anything his daughter puts in front of him. The mom's on a cruise. Easy $500K. Diana had replied, "I know. I feel a little bad, but they're retired. They don't need that much money. We do. Besides, they'll still have Social Security." I'd raised her. I'd taught her right from wrong. I'd read her bedtime stories about honesty and kindness, and she'd looked at her own parents and seen targets, easy marks. The manhunt for Diana lasted 3 days. Every law enforcement agency in California was looking for her. Her face was on the news. Daughter wanted in multi-million-dollar elder fraud scheme. My phone rang constantly. Neighbors, former students from the school where I'd taught, people I hadn't heard from in years. Everyone was shocked. Everyone wanted to know how I was doing. I stopped answering. They found Diana at a Motel 6 Inches Reno. She'd been planning to fly to Mexico from there, but she'd waited too long. FBI agents and Nevada State Police arrested her as she was checking out. She had $47,000 in cash in her suitcase and a one-way ticket to Cabo San Lucas. They brought her back to Sacramento in handcuffs. The federal charges came first: wire fraud, mail fraud, bank fraud, interstate transportation of stolen property. The FBI had taken over because Diana and Marcus had crossed state lines and used wire transfers. The U.S. Attorney's Office in Sacramento filed a 93-count indictment. Then came the California charges: 47 counts of elder abuse, 47 counts of grand theft, 47 counts of practicing law without a license, 83 counts of forgery, and 6 counts of identity theft. Marcus took a deal almost immediately. He agreed to plead guilty and testify against Diana in exchange for a reduced sentence: 8 years in federal prison. He'd be out in 6 with good behavior. Diana fought. She got a public defender, some young attorney fresh out of law school who was in way over his head. They tried to argue that Diana had been manipulated by Marcus, that she'd really believed she was helping her clients, that she'd made mistakes but hadn't intended to defraud anyone. The prosecutor, An assistant U.S. attorney named Catherine Ross destroyed that argument in about 10 minutes. She brought out the emails, the spreadsheets, the fake diplomas Diana had bought online, the testimony from 47 victims, including me and Robert. The trial lasted 5 weeks. I attended every day. I sat in the back row and watched my daughter try to lie her way out of what she'd done. The worst day was when they called me to testify. I had to walk past Diana to get to the witness stand. She tried to catch my eye, tried to mouth something to me. "Mom, please." I looked straight ahead. The prosecutor asked me to describe what had happened. I told the jury everything. About coming home from our anniversary cruise and finding our house had been stolen. About discovering my daughter wasn't a lawyer. About learning she'd targeted us specifically because we were trusting and vulnerable. Diana's attorney cross-examined me. He tried to suggest that maybe Diana had really thought she was helping us, that maybe she'd just made a mistake. I looked at him and said, "My daughter lied to me for 3 years. She created an entire fake law firm. She forged documents, stole our life savings, and tried to flee to Mexico. That's not a mistake. That's a crime spree." The jury deliberated for 6 hours, guilty on all federal counts. The California trial was scheduled for after sentencing on the federal charges, but Diana's attorney recommended she plead guilty. The evidence was overwhelming. She took the plea deal, guilty to 36 counts of elder abuse and related charges. Federal sentencing came first. Judge William Martinez presided. I'd written a victim impact statement. So had Robert, though his was shorter. He'd developed severe anxiety after discovering what Diana had done. He couldn't sleep. He had panic attacks. Our doctor had put him on medication. 23 other victims submitted statements. Elderly men and women who'd lost their homes, their savings, their security. One couple had lost $380,000 and been forced to declare bankruptcy. Another woman, 81 years old, had lost her house and was living with her son. An elderly man testified that he'd considered suicide after learning his entire retirement had been stolen by the nice young attorney he'd trusted. The judge read through every statement. Then he looked at Diana. "Miss Morrison, you targeted the most vulnerable members of our society. You exploited the trust that elderly people placed in you. You pretended to be an attorney, a position that carries with it sacred duties of honesty and fiduciary responsibility. You betrayed not just your clients, not just your profession, but your own parents. I've been on the federal bench for 19 years, and I've rarely seen such calculated, cold-blooded fraud." Diana cried. She apologized. She said she was sorry, that she'd made terrible choices, that she'd been in debt and desperate. Judge Martinez was unmoved. "The federal sentencing guidelines for your crimes suggest 188 to 235 months. I'm sentencing you to 180 months in federal prison, 15 years. You'll also pay restitution in the amount of $2,347,000 to your victims. After you complete your federal sentence, you'll serve your California state sentence consecutively. That's an additional 12 years, 27 years. My daughter would be 62 years old when she got out of prison, older than I was now. I felt nothing, no satisfaction, no relief, just emptiness. The money was mostly gone. The FBI had traced some of it to offshore accounts in Belize and the Cayman Islands. They'd recovered about $380,000 total, which was divided among the victims based on their losses. Robert and I got back $53,000. That was it. The house was returned to us, but we still owed $350,000 on the home equity line of credit that Diana had fraudulently obtained. The bank, after some negotiation, agreed to refinance it at a lower rate, but we still had payments. At 62, I'd thought I was done working. I'd retired from teaching 2 years earlier after 38 years. Now I was back, substitute teaching 3 days a week to help make the mortgage payments. Robert tried to pick up some small electrical jobs, but his anxiety made it difficult. He'd start a job and have to leave because he was having a panic attack. We sold everything that wasn't essential. The boat Robert had restored over 10 years. My grandmother's china. The coin collection Robert had started as a boy. We downsized our life to try to stay in our home. Diana is at FCI Dublin, a federal women's prison about 90 miles from Sacramento. She'll be eligible for release after serving 85% of her sentence. That means she'll be out in 12 years, not 15, if she has perfect behavior. She's written to me 4 times. I've never opened the letters. Robert opened one of them. He cried for 3 days afterward. He won't tell me what it said. People ask me sometimes if I'll ever forgive her, if I'll visit her in prison, if there's any chance we can rebuild our relationship. Here's what I tell them. Diana didn't just steal our money. She stole our retirement. She stole our security. She stole our trust in the world. Robert can't sleep without medication. He startles every time someone knocks on the door. He questions every piece of mail, every phone call, wondering if it's another scam. And she stole something else. She stole my faith in my own judgment. I raised her. For 35 years, I was her mother. I thought I knew her. I thought I'd taught her to be honest, to be kind, to value people over money. How did I miss that I was raising someone capable of this? The therapist I've been seeing says it's not my fault, that Diana made her own choices, that sociopathy can develop despite good parenting, that some people are just wired differently. But at 2:00 the morning, when I can't sleep, I run through every moment of Diana's childhood, looking for clues. The time she lied about breaking her friend's toy. The time she stole $20 from my purse in high school. The time she forged my signature on a permission slip. Were those warning signs? Should I have seen this coming? Robert and I don't talk about Diana anymore. There's a photo of her on the mantle from her high school graduation. I haven't had the heart to take it down, but I can't look at it. That girl in the photo, smiling in her cap and gown, isn't the woman who's in federal prison. Or maybe she is, and I just never saw it. The other victims, we've formed a support group. We meet once a month at a community center in East Sacramento. 23 of us, all elderly, all betrayed by Diana Morrison. We share stories. We share resources. We share the burden of knowing we were targeted for our age, our trust, our vulnerability. Some of them have forgiven Diana. One woman, Frances, who lost her house, says she prays for Diana every night. She says Diana must have been sick, troubled, desperate. She says holding on to anger only hurts us. I can't get there, not yet, maybe not ever. What Diana did wasn't desperation, it was calculation, it was cruelty. She sat at our dinner table every Sunday for 3 years, eating the pot roast I made, laughing at Robert's jokes, hugging us goodbye at the door, and the whole time she was planning how to rob us. The warning signs were there. I know that now. 2 years before she started her fake law firm, Diana had been fired from her insurance job for falsifying expense reports. She'd borrowed $15,000 from us to pay off credit card debt. She'd had a string of jobs that never lasted more than a year, but she was my daughter. I wanted to believe in her. I wanted to think she'd turned things around, that she'd found her calling, that she was finally successful and happy. I tell the other victims in our support group what I wish someone had told me. Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, investigate. Don't let love or loyalty or embarrassment stop you from asking questions. Check credentials. Verify everything. And never, ever give anyone, not even family, complete control over your finances. Diana will get out of prison someday. She'll be 62, the age I am now. Maybe she'll have learned something. Maybe she'll have found genuine remorse. Maybe she'll try to make amends. But I won't be there to see it. Robert and I have made a decision. When Diana is released, we won't have contact with her. We've changed our wills. Everything we have, everything we've managed to hold on to, will go to charity when we die. The local food bank, the library, the school where I taught for 38 years. Diana won't get a penny. She's already taken enough. Last month, I did something I never thought I'd do. I went to a support group meeting for parents of incarcerated children. I thought maybe hearing from other parents would help me understand, would help me find a path to forgiveness or acceptance, or something other than this hollow anger. A mother there told her story. Her son was in prison for armed robbery. She visited him every month. She put money in his commissary account. She said, "He's still my son. I still love him, no matter what he did." I wanted to feel that. I wanted to be the kind of mother who could separate the person from the crime, who could hold on to love despite betrayal. But I couldn't. When it was my turn to share, I told them the truth. My daughter isn't the person I thought she was. Maybe she never was, and I don't know if I can love the person she actually is. Some of the parents understood. Others looked at me with pity, like I was the one who'd failed. Like choosing not to forgive was somehow worse than what Diana had done. I left early. I haven't been back. Robert and I are learning to live with what happened. We're making the mortgage payments. We're managing. We've cut back on everything. No more dinners out, no more vacations, no more extras. At an age when we should have been traveling and enjoying retirement, we're counting pennies and working part-time jobs. But we're together. We're still in our house, for now. And we're alive. That's more than Diana intended for us. Based on the evidence at trial, Diana and Marcus had discussed what would happen if one of us died while they still controlled our assets. They'd figured they could access life insurance, sell the house quickly, disappear the money before anyone investigated. We were more valuable to them dead than alive. That's what the prosecutor told us. That's what those emails suggested. My daughter would have let me die for money. I think about that sometimes. How if I'd died on that cruise, maybe from a heart attack or a stroke, Diana would have probably shown up at the funeral. She'd have cried. She'd have given a beautiful eulogy. And then she'd have sold everything and vanished. People tell me I should be grateful it didn't come to that. That at least we found out in time. That at least we're alive. But gratitude is hard to find when you're 62 and working substitute teaching jobs to pay a mortgage you thought was long paid off. When your husband of 40 years can't sleep through the night because he trusted his daughter. When the retirement you planned for is gone, stolen by the child you raised. So no, I'm not grateful. I'm surviving. There's a difference. Diana will spend the next dozen years in federal prison. Then, if she serves her full California sentence, another 12 years after that, by the time she's released, I'll be in my late 80s. If I'm still alive, maybe by then, I'll have found forgiveness. Maybe I'll be ready to see her, to hear whatever apology she wants to give, to try to understand how the little girl I rocked to sleep became the woman who robbed me. But I don't think so. Some betrayals are too deep. Some trust, once broken, can't be repaired. Diana didn't just steal our money and our house. She stole our past, every memory now tainted by knowing what she was planning. And she stole our future, the retirement we'd worked 40 years to build. What she can't steal is the truth. And the truth is this. I did everything I could to raise her right. I loved her, supported her, believed in her. Her choices are not my failure. They're hers. And the consequences of those choices are hers to bear. For the next 27 years, she'll have plenty of time to think about what she's done. To think about the 47 families she destroyed. To think about her own parents, working in our 60s to survive. I hope it haunts her. I hope every single day in that prison she remembers what she gave up. Not just her freedom, but her family. Her parents. The people who would have loved her unconditionally if she'd only let us. But she chose money over love. And now she has neither. As for me and Robert, we're still here. Still together, still fighting. That's all we can do. We support each other. We attend our monthly support group meetings, and we try to rebuild some semblance of the life we thought we'd have. It's not the retirement we dreamed of. It's not the golden years we planned. But it's ours, and it's real, and it's built on something Diana will never understand. Genuine love and genuine trust. She can't take that from us. That, at least, is ours to keep.